gave me a few videos that were useful, I think, and I just uploaded them to my YouTube page. So, hey man, over 5-6 years doing this, you start to you see a lot.
While you still have 1 minute, Eric, how demonstrative was the land-in coach when he hit the table? When
I mean,
he
you could
found
hear it in
out.
the video. It was
I haven't
demonstrative.
gotten to that point of the video.
It,
He claims
okay.
it
Here's
was
here's
not
the way I would
much.
describe it. When he hit the table, the the home book and the away book, they lost the pencils that were in their hands.
Oh, okay.
That's how hard of a hit it was. Their hands were on the table. He hit the table. The pencils flew onto the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that, but that wasn't how he described it.
Oh no, you can hear it on the video. Like you can hear the big boom.
I haven't gotten to that part.
Yeah.
So Eric or Doug, Eric, are you ready?
Sure. You want to wait just a couple more minutes to see if we get any late runners, but it is noon.
I think there's supposed to be 24, if I remember the numbers correctly. 2 have said they needed it recorded, and I did that. It's being recorded for them. So our goal should be 22, 24 actually, because Al and I are not part of that count because we're not doing games, but
right now we have like
16. But I wouldn't wait much longer.
All right, cool. We can go. All right. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the rules document and some of the emails that Doug Bushman sent out. We're going to go kind of quick through the monitor procedures and the rules, but some of the stuff you already read. And if you haven't, I'm going to share it. I'm sharing it on my screen right now. But in all situations, in all the situations that involve the monitor, we have to make a live ball, or we have to make decisions during the live or the dead ball decisions, and we have exclusive discretion to review at the monitor reviewable situations listed below at either the next timeout, the end of period break, or during immediate dead ball period following a whistle. And that's in the case of altercations, technical fouls, or intentional or flagrant acts. In all situations, we have the full discretion to determine if the video review provides conclusive evidence to change an on-court decision. And this is important, if there is a change, and only if there's a change, we are to inform the timeout coordinator. In this case, his name is going to be Eric Williams in the TV games. And there's also going to be a timeout coordinator at the table. And the timeout coordinator, for those of you that don't know, is not a scoreboard operator or a book person. The timeout coordinator is somebody who's communicating with the live feeds, with the live streams, or with the TV, with the truck or the TV commentators. So I've talked with all of the producers and the commentators over email and in a couple calls in the last week. And there's going to be somebody at the table in all of these games. That's their dedicated purpose is to communicate things at the table to the announcers. And that person is called the timeout coordinator. If there is a change, they actually wanted to do like a full NBA setup where they would, for the TV games, where they would give us like 3 or 4 different angles. We decided that would be a little bit too much and too complicated for right now. So we're going to be looking at one feed, and that is the game feed, the same feed that the audience is looking at, whether it's a live stream or the TV games. There's going to be one feed that we can rewind or replay to review whatever we want to review. And if there is a change, so let's say that you call an intentional foul on the court, or you call a 2-point basket on the court and you change it to a 3, or you change a 3 to a 2 during a quarter break or a period break or during a timeout, that's the only time you should tell them what the change is. It's a change determination. So if something has changed, you tell them what happened so they can tell the commentators the 2-pointer at 4-minute mark has been changed from a 3 to a 2. That's why the score is changed. So you tell the timeout coordinator and the scoreboard operator and the scorekeepers, scoreboard operators what the change is. Now to the reviewable situations, the triggers. We must review. So anytime there's an altercation, a technical foul, an intentional foul, or an act that is, I guess I'll highlight this. Reviewable situations, altercations, technical fouls for taunting, intentional fouls, or flagrant fouls. Now, of those, you must review altercations and acts that are potentially intentional or flagrant. So that's it. You have the option to review taunting fouls if there is uncertainty as to the immediate context of the act or the foul. What does that mean? If you turn and you see somebody chuck somebody, or you see somebody yell at somebody for a taunt, and you think you may have missed a prior act, like a taunt that led to a taunt, you can review that. If you're sure, you don't have to. But if there's uncertainty and you want to, you can. So that's the technical foul for taunting situation. You don't have to review technical fouls for taunt. But if you want to, or you think you may have missed something, a prior act leading to the taunt that you caught, you can review that. But to the more important one, any altercations or acts that are intentional or flagrant, Al has decided that you must review these situations. So we're going to show you some plays about them later. But those are and then here's some kind of written examples that show different examples. If you want to read, if you probably already read through it as well. But those are situations that you must review. And how the process for that works, you go over the table. Amir Ibrahimi has donated his iPad, and it's going to be a YouTube TV. So hopefully you guys know how to use YouTube. It's pretty simple, but it's going to be YouTube TV. And if you want to review a play, you look at the iPad and you click on this. You can either click on the bar at the bottom and slide it back and forth to the time that you want. And the score and the time should be on the bottom right-hand corner of the iPad. Or you just click on this, you click on the side 2 or 3 times and it'll go back 5, 10, 15 seconds. So for 2 clicks, I know this is going to sound stupid to some of you, but for 2 clicks, it goes back 5 seconds. 3 clicks goes back 10 seconds. 4 clicks goes back 15 seconds. And every extra click, if you do it simultaneously, goes back a certain amount of time. The TV games are going to be on a 15-second delay. So let's say that you have an altercation, a flagrant foul, an intentional foul, something like that. You'll be able to, like, by the time you get over there, you're going to stop play. By the time you get over there, it won't probably, the feed will be probably only about 10, 15 seconds back, depending on how quickly you're able to get over to the table. But that's, in general, the situation for the first trigger, which is altercation, technical fouls for taunting, intentional fouls, and or flagrant fouls. That's that review. End of period field goal attempts is another trigger. If a shot is close, let's say it's under 2 seconds, Al can maybe clarify this, but if an attempt is taken under 2 seconds or under 1 second, and it is close, and we'll see some different plays in a little while to determine, like, if you want to go look at it or not. If it's close, you should go and look at it just to confirm it, just like they do in the NBA and NCAA. So we have a minute to do that, or a minute and 15 seconds to do that. The timeout coordinators know that we're going to be doing that. So end of period field goal attempts should be reviewed, especially if it's really close in the case of some of these. If I don't think let's say there's an end of game in a blowout, a 20-point game, just to be clear, if there's a 20-point game and a player attempts a shot that's really close, I do not think you necessarily need to go look at that just because you're trying to get off the court at that point. So those, you have discretion in that regard. But a typical first period, second period, third period, fourth period, or third period, end of quarter attempt that is close, you should have an on-court determination, an on-court decision, an on-court ruling, and then you go and you may or may not change it based on the results of the review. Also, 2 to 3 and 3 to 2s. That's the final trigger. If during the course of a period, you think that a shot is close, if you know, don't tag it. If you're sure, don't tag it. If you're out of position and for whatever reason you and your other partners don't have conclusive evidence and you want to review it, have an on-court ruling like you would normally, 3 or 2, and you can go at the end of the quarter or the next timeout. And the way that you're going to have to process this is remember the time in your head. So let's say that I'm running up and down the court with Janoski, and we see a shot, we see a 203, and we don't know because it's a transition shot real quick, and it's really close to the line. Look up at the clock, see that it's 4 minutes and 15 seconds, and then when the next timeout or the next dead ball, or not dead ball, but next timeout or next or at the end of the quarter, go back to that mark, go back an extra 5 seconds, and see if there's a potential for you to see a change. A lot of these times, yeah, go ahead.
Can we on that with Eric Williams? Is there any way if we have a 2 versus 3 or 3 versus 2, we're unsure if we give the whirly-bird motion and could he stamp that?
Yeah, we could. I was going to kind of get in the process of like after I was done with this, I was going to talk about like how we would talk with the table or have like a pregame table meeting to discuss these things.
Has everyone seen this signal that I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means that you're going to go review that 2 versus 3 or 3 versus 2, like the next dead ball.
Yeah, you definitely want to know. You want to know yourself that it's the 4-minute mark that you're reviewing a shot at the 4:15 stamp or something like that. And let's just say, God forbid, you forget between then and the next timeout. If you forget, it's too bad. Maybe you can look for it real quick, but you don't want to be over there for too long trying to review these types of things.
I assume you're going to go, Eric, you're going to go through like the 2 people that go over and one watches the players kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Al's going to talk about that. Al's going to talk about that next. Is like how he wants people to go to the table, how many people are going to be reviewing it at once. Yeah. Yeah, again, same thing with 2s and 3s, 3s and 2s. There must be, and I can't emphasize this enough, conclusive evidence. You have to be 100% sure that something should be changed because quite frankly, we don't have 5, 10, 15 different looks at it to determine that. You're going to see some of the examples that there are like 5, 10, 15 looks, but we're going to have your standard huddle live game television feed that's going to be over the table, or it's going to be kind of looking down at the half court. So there's going to be, plays like this. Most of the time, I think it's actually not going to be conclusive, and you can quickly determine that. But anyway, I'll pass it off to Al for how you want to kind of do, how we want to kind of approach the table and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we have a foul on the floor, and we have a foul on the floor that we might think is intentional or flagrant. Okay, so we're gonna call the foul, and we'll give the signal. All right, intentional, right? We're gonna go review it. So the calling official will go with the referee to review it. The third official will stand at the division line monitoring the benches. Okay, you go and review it. And for an intentional foul, let's say I'm working with Eric and I said, that's an intentional foul. And he says, it's not an intentional foul. Then the third guy will switch and go over. Okay, and he says, it's not an intentional foul. Okay, for an intentional foul, 2 of the 3 have to agree. Okay, 2 of the 3. Okay, let's say we go over there and Eric and I both go over and go, that's an intentional foul. Okay, well, we don't need the third guy to come in. All right. Okay, that's the first scenario. Once we finish the review, we're going to get all 3 officials together and go, okay, how are we going to adjudicate this? Okay, so-and-so was fouled, intentional, 2 shots, ball at the spot. Then we're going to get both coaches together and give them what the ruling is in play. All right. Now, if it's a flagrant foul, let's say, boom, I want to go look at it, and I come up and say, Eric, we might have flagrant here. Let's go look. So he's the referee. We go look. He goes, Al, I got flagrant, and I go, I got flagrant, and now the third official comes over there and goes. For example, he goes, I have flagrant too. It's a flagrant foul. For a flagrant foul, all 3 have to agree. Now, just a recommendation, if you have 2 veterans going over there and saying, hey, I got flagrant on this, and you're the third guy, I think you might want to go flagrant. Does everyone understand that?
Sure.
You know, you don't want to go, you know, and so on. But we want everyone to look at it, get both, and these will jump at you when they're flagrant or intentional. And then you get the the crew together. Hey, how are we going to administer this? Okay. And then we're going to tell the coaches and so on. Now, before we do all that, there's some homework to do. Replay, if we're going to use replay, you can't know the penalties. You have to master every penalty in that book, because replay and penalties go hand in hand. If you're going over, oh, what's the penalty for that? What's the penalty for this? You're going to really have a tough time. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So this will be a lot of fun, and we're the only high school board doing something like this. And there will be some glitches. The main thing is go over there, look like you know what you're doing, which you got look like have confidence, poise. Go over there, go over, look, okay. If you need the third, get together as a crew, get the coaches together, go, and let's play. In other words, the CCA manual always states get in and get out, okay? Because you have an idea what's going to happen when you go over there. Oh, boy, I want to take a look at this. Oh, grabbed his jersey. Yeah, that's intentional. But let's just go over, make sure, because by doing it, it's going to make the board really look good. Man, look at these guys, they really know what they're doing. All right? Anybody have any questions real quick?
Make it clear that we're not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go
you
ahead.
go first.
I was just saying, make it clear that this is not, we're not reviewing out of bounds calls. That's not one.
No. These are the
only three things. That's it.
That's it. There's only three things.
That's it.
Okay. So some of your games, you might not have anything.
We may have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can imagine we have 6 games that day on a day.
You can have one.
No, what I'm saying is we're going to have, I wonder what it's going to do to the time in these games. I'm curious.
You'll be fine. You just go in, you look at it. You're not going to have that many looks, and if you need a third opinion, get in and get out. Because most of these plays are going to jump at you, boy,
Right. Yeah, I don't think, you're right. Good point. Go ahead, Quay.
Thanks. Just for clarification, Al, even if all 3 officials in real time agree that it's a flagrant, you still want us to go to the table to review it or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
You want to go over there. And just say, and so for that one, Clay, you should be in and out of there. Because when we go over there, I said, Clay, this is definitely, and then.
Gotcha.
Because we'll be in and out of there. We should be in and out of there in less than 45 seconds.
Just into kind of okay. Are we on the next step?
Yeah. So Dave Quay.
We got a question from
Quay,
David.
go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Eric, you mentioned at the beginning, we have full discretion. I'm just envisioning a coach saying, asking for review. Dude,
no.
What?
Absolutely not.
No, just us.
So we should do that in the pregame. We should probably tell them that this is only us. It's not.
Right.
It does not give you the right to ask us.
Right.
For.
It's not like the NCAA rule. No.
Wait, we interrupted you. I'm sorry. You finish your question. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, what was the guideline? How do we handle it? Because I just envision a coach making a big deal about that. They want something reviewed. If it's something reviewable, should we just go review it if it's one of the triggers?
Okay, so I appreciate your question, and it is the answer to that question is they are all seeing the exact same thing we just looked at. Every coach has or will see this document that I'm putting on the screen again. They will all see this. Right. They're all going to get it. I'm writing the email myself. All the announcers have seen it. The commentators are going to see it. They are going to be aware of this document. They are going to be aware of that it is our discretion to do all of these things entirely. So that is, I agree with you. I could see them wanting something to be reviewed. The answer is, you know the rules, they know the rules, you say no. That's the way I look at it. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's why it's very important. Like I said to everybody, you got to know the penalties. If you don't know I'm not to say don't know, but if you're a little bit, hey, I haven't gone over this stuff, I would go over this stuff like maybe 5, 6, 7 times. What's an intentional foul? What's a flagrant foul? All that stuff, altercations, fighting rules that could happen.
So I think, though, to the question is, if a coach is insistent, very insistent that we go to the monitor, what are your words of wisdom? How should we diffuse the situation? Should we accommodate them more often than not? So in those rare occasions where the coach is demanding we go to the monitor and we as refs don't feel as we should, what's your words of wisdom in regards how to handle that? What should we just say? It's not up to you?
Yeah, I was saying, sorry, just to add on, I was asking more along lines of the trigger. So if we're 100% outside of a flagrant or intentional, but if they're asking like for a 2 or a 3, but we know it was a 3 or a 2, like Kurt said, how do we approach that with them if they're insistent we go look at it? Just go look at it?
Well, like for 2 versus 3 or 3, what's going to be at the end of the period? Just go look at it.
If you really want to, yeah, I suppose that's right.
Yeah.
Make sure you remember that timestamp.
Yeah.
And if they're going nutso over that, there probably is a reason for it. So,
right.
And we probably have one of the 3 of us, or probably could say, we probably should look at it. So, yeah.
Right. So we have enough experience on this call that we know when something's wrong in the game and when something's right. And again, this is going to be new and we're not going to be perfect, but what we want to do well is procedures. Go over there. We know what we're doing and so on, and we'll be fine. And don't overthink it. And if you overthink it and overanalyze it, that's where you're going to fail. You'll know what to do.
Eric, quick question. You keep mentioning to remember the timestamp. When we give the whirly bird, is someone recording that at the table as far as they're seeing us do that to note the time?
Not necessarily. I don't think we should count on that.
Right.
You should mentally record you and your partners. If your partners see you, just yell across this, just yell, hey Kurt, let's look at that at next break. Something like, just remember yourself, hopefully. And that's actually what I was about to get into next, is like, what I just want to talk about pregame locker rooms. This is something you should talk about in your pregame. We have the Google Docs document. You can review it, talk about it in your pregame. You want to talk about it in the locker room. You want to talk to the table about that. If you want to talk to the table and ask them, say, hey, when we do this, have that as part of your table briefing.
Right.
That you're going to do this. If you could help us out and just write down that timestamp, tell them to, because you might forget because something crazy happens in the next 2 minutes of live ball action. So, you can, I would recommend you tell that to the table and talk extensively with them about the monitor possibilities in that game. They're gonna have some knowledge, but like us, this is new to them too. Right. So you want to your table briefing should involve things that you might do on the court with your hands that will trigger them to maybe write a little note in in their score sheet or something. So think about it like that. And again, I did say the coaches will have access to and will see the exact same things we're seeing. And with the 2 to 3 situation you were talking about, Quay, again, the chances that we'll be able to conclusively determine these things is, I think, pretty slim with the camera angles we'll have. So just if in the event that we even get something wrong and we don't know, just you have to use the language. We looked at the monitor. Inconclusive to change, period. Move on. Yep. Next steps, you want to go to plays, or is there anything else, Al?
Yeah, let's go to plays.
Okay.
And this
will be fun.
Yeah.
Share.
Now before we go to the plays, we're not worried about the how we're going to adjudicate it. Mm-hmm. Basically, what we're looking at, would you go yes or no?
Okay, and maybe you guys have had a chance to look at some of these before, the descriptions. And if you want to look at them later, you can, anytime you want. Some of them have, some of these are clips from NBA videos. Some of these are clips from NCAA videos. Some of these are clips from your high school videos, my high school videos, et cetera, et cetera. And some of them have in the descriptions, this is on my YouTube channel, some of them have in the descriptions kind of questions to ask yourself and just to kind of get your mind ready, what you're going to be thinking about in these situations, what you can think about, in the language and terminology to use. And some of them have the answers, if there are answers, mostly about is this reviewable, what are your options, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think me and Al realized that different crews are going to have different thoughts about some of these plays and situations, and it's going to result in, ideally we could all be on the exact same page and think the exact same about everything, but that's not the way refereeing works. But we just want to talk about what are our options and what is reviewable or not. Okay, and after that being said, let's look at the first play, altercation 1. This is, I'll pause it real quick. This is from an NCAA game 4 or 5 years ago where an entire bench leaves the court and or leaves their bench, and they end up at the end of the game they end up playing 3-on-5. But what we're reviewing is what happens is this an altercation? What does that mean, and what can we do? There's going to be a fight in a second. Right around here.
Definitely reviewable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I can stop here. But the questions to ask yourself are, hold on a second, let me move this thing. You would review it. You would go to the monitor immediately. This is not a waiting situation. Let me see if I can go back. And then the things that you would look for, this has multiple actions, but right now, all the players are not necessarily leaving the bench at this point. Just like if you're looking at the screen, you would look at there's a lot to look at here. You're looking at punches, pushes, chucks, fighting acts, things like that would determine whether or not there's a flagrant act, and there are multiple. And then as we play on, all of a sudden the entire white bench leaves. That would mean that if in our game this happens, they've all left the confines of their bench area, and they would all be ejected, every one of them. And we know this, and then there would be penalties associated with that. We're not going to get into that because hopefully we all know that. We need to study the penalties. But A, obviously it's reviewable. B, we make determinations for what the call on the floor is with what happened initially. C, who leaves the bench? Does anyone leave the bench? And what happens there? If say 5 people, and you'll see nobody leaves the bench on the other team, and like the entire team leaves the bench on White's team. In this case, I think it's Alabama. But that's this one. And ultimately, you would have to eject, disqualify every single player on the bench. That would be one technical foul. It would be an indirect to the to the coach for all the players on the bench. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any of these places, Al.
Yeah, because they didn't get involved. It's one indirect to the coach, and they're all gone. They're all gone. Right.
In the high school game, there would be for the 5 players that leave the court, assuming none of them participate in the fight, do not throw punches. They just kind of walk they mosey onto the court way too far, leave their bench. They'd all be ejected, but the penalty would be 2 shots for all 5 of them. So
because they didn't get involved. The main thing, everybody, is go over those penalties, because it's not. This is go over those penalties. Because it will be here. We could have a whole clinic just on this play.
Right, you could.
So let's go to the next play.
Next play. Again, this action is I'll pause it right here. The action is going to be in between Draymond Green and the white player number, the white Pistons player down here on the block. It's going to be basically like a taunting altercation situation, and we'll watch.
So would you go to replay? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
The answer is yes.
Mhm.
What are you looking for?
First, is there an intentional foul for grabbing, and then question is whether they're considered fighting or not to be ejected. That's it.
Sure. An important thing to think is, and the initial thing is, what is the call on the floor? Obviously, they're blowing the whistle, so there is a call on the floor. So let's say that, who's that ref again? That's Ed Malloy. So let's say that Gary Stein is Ed Malloy in this situation. Well, he's going to blow his whistle, and let's say he has a double technical foul here, which I think is the most easy thing to have, the most obvious thing here. He sees two players jostling, yelling at each other. He calls it a technical foul. That's the call on the floor. You look at it to see if you want to change any of that. If you might have missed a punch, contact to the neck, contact to the head that was unnecessary, where you might need to upgrade one or both of them to a flagrant act. Agree, Al?
Yep.
Okay. So your options are: what's the call on the floor? 2, should we change the call on the floor or upgrade it or downgrade it in any way, shape, or form?
Yep.
Questions, thoughts? Okay, next one.
Definitely reviewable. Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's reviewable.
Mm-hmm.
What's the call on the floor? Darren, in this case, his initial call on the floor is an intentional foul, which means that therefore has to, and obviously there's an altercation that happens afterwards. So it's reviewable for that reason alone. But he has an intentional foul, which also indicates that it must be reviewed in our rules. So I'll play it one more time, and just everybody, and kind of just anyone wants to chime in with their answer and tell me what you think should be done. There's also some little tricks to this video if you watch even closer. I'll play it one more time. Thoughts? The call on the floor, the call on the floor is intentional. Darren calls it. You have, and I think it's obvious, you have a guy chucking the player that tackled him. So there's a technical foul there too, a dead ball contact technical foul for the full on push after the play.
There's a technical foul and 0 white too, got in his face.
Possibly, yeah. They both turn there. There isn't contact, but that's a decision you guys can make to do. You can add technical fouls to this play.
Did anyone come off the bench? I can't tell.
Yeah,
I have 2 players at least.
that is correct.
Yeah.
See, when you're reviewing, there are players that come off the bench. Do they participate?
Doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't.
Well,
it does
It
matter.
could matter.
It does. It matters if they participate. They're both being ejected regardless. But
Right.
but whether or not they participate,
it's for enforcement. Is that what you're saying?
exactly for the penalty.
Right.
If 2 of them throw punches, then we got 2 more flagrants.
Right.
and we got two more shots for each one of those swings or acts. But the trick is you did see the two players.
Yeah.
The kind of hidden thing is you see the two players leave St. John's bench, one from the end of the bench and one from like the subbing in section. Or I guess the table section. There's two players. I'll just review it one more time. I'll play it one more time, just so you can kind of look at it again. And how you would do this, and I guess it is very important how you would do this actually when you're at the table, is you and one other official will be there, and you can look at it just by double clicking on the left side of the screen. And you want to test these things before the game when you're at the table. Test it, because there's also going to be a button on the screen to click live. Like on the bar at the bottom of the screen should be a button for live. So if you pregame, there's going to be a live game feed just kind of showing stuff on the screen, and it'll just like if you're watching a live stream at home, and you'll have the ability to click forward back using the scroll bar at the bottom or the live button to go live. So you can just leave it back and then click live if you want, anytime you want. Or if you need to find a timestamp, you can use the timestamps that are on the screen, like here in the bottom left-hand corner, where it says 2:45. You can go back to other sections in the game for other types of plays, but that's the actual. You're going to be doing the clicking. It's not going to be somebody else. So, like in an NBA game, the NBA referees are on a headset. We're not going to be on headsets. They're on a headset telling the truck what to show them, what angle to show them. We honestly could be faster than them, because there isn't that communication that has to happen. We're going to be looking on a live feed and moving it ourselves. So hopefully we're faster. We'll see about that. But just
Eric,
to watch this.
If we hit live, aren't we just watching ourselves watch the monitor?
Yes. But let's say that like you're done, you're right, that's funny. But if we're done, you just might want to hit live, so it just goes up to the play. Like you're done, you hit live, you've made the decision with your partner at the table, you hit live and it goes back to it. Or let's say you forget to it. Let's say that later in the game you went to review something, and then you paused the screen, and then you went back to ref. You went back to ref, and then all of a sudden you have to review a play 5-10 minutes later. Then you want to get to it, you would hit the button live. You see what I'm saying? Just from a technological standpoint, it's kind of important to know how it works, so you're not learning on the fly. So I highly recommend going over to that table for the game and playing with it just a little bit, so you kind of learn it, so you can move it, and so that you're not learning on the fly in the game. I mean, it's YouTube. It's YouTube, so hopefully you have a little bit of knowledge about how YouTube works, how you click through it, but just technologically. But now we'll watch the play one more time, just to show the little things that some of you may have missed, the players coming off the bench and things like that. And that's the things you want to look for in the event that this happens in your game. So you could also determine this play could be upgraded from an intentional to a flagrant, which Al and I were debating before the video. So those are the types of things you think about, but absolutely reviewable. What's the call on the floor, and does anybody leave the bench? And then what are the penalties? Anything else?
Who's the random guy in the red hat that comes on the court?
Well, he's security. Don't worry about that. Okay. Let's go to the next play.
Coaches can come on the court to help diffuse.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You go over penalties.
It's our very own Janowski and Ibrahimi. I'll pause it. I need to do a little. I forgot to do a little breakdown. The action is going to occur right in front of Janowski down here in the paint, or basically in the paint or around the block. That's where the action is going to occur.
Turner on the court.
Review one more time.
Yeah, that's a funny one. That's It's
Yeah.
It's like if anyone's
Hold on, Gary.
Oh, okay. All right, there's more. Okay. Oh, whoa, okay.
All right, one more time. So I still don't know what exactly maybe Steve can chime in and tell what the call on the floor was, but that's obviously a very important thing. When I initially looked at this, I thought probably they called a double technical foul. I don't know though. It's either a double technical foul or a single technical foul based on what happened. So what the call on the floor here is important. If you could review it, you could then change it. Let's say you had a double technical foul here. I don't know if that's what they had.
We did. We had a double technical on Jared, and the guy tried to trip him down after he pulled him.
Fair enough.
It was a double technical.
And that's the call on the floor, and you could look at this and determine, oh, you know what? Maybe the O'Connell kid didn't actually do anything on the drive. Who knows? And you could change it from a double to a single. These are just the options we have. I don't know. I wasn't in the game. I don't know the context at all. It's not about the decision necessarily that the referees make isn't important, but we have those options to make that change in the event of this situation, if you wanted to. So it looks like there is a foul. Amir calls a common foul initially on the drive, and then Steve whacks both players involved. And that could be the determination you want to stick with just because you have a better feel of where the game is at. So, but that's this play. It is absolutely, this is a play you would review. It's dead ball contact situation. Anything else, Al?
Yeah, that's good. Let's go to the next one.
Good.
Oh, the famous kick.
So again, if you didn't see it, you'll see Dickinson steps on the kid's nuts.
That's an ejection. Yeah. Did you eject him in that game?
I did not.
If you saw it, if you had the ability to see it again, you would, right? If you had the ability to review it.
So I'm going to just fast forward to the replay.
Kind of choppy here. Any way to make it flow?
Right there. And that's the best he can get.
So one, I call a technical foul. It's for a dead ball contact. Is this reviewable? I think the answer is obviously yes. We don't need to pull the board. Is it, what would we do? What are our options? We would have two officials over there, and then in game, I was like, man, I thought to myself, I want to see this again, because if I did, I think I would eject him. But I'm in a live ball situation. I was not sure if it was an ejectable situation. I was pretty sure I wasn't 100%. I would have loved to have a monitor for this play. And I think that this is a perfect example of a situation where I don't know if everyone would have agreed, all officials would have agreed, but you would have to have all three people agree to upgrade this to a flagrant act, like Al said. So in the game,
we have no obligation to show it to the coach or anything once we upgraded it to it, which we would.
Yeah. They're not looking over, or they're absolutely not looking over our shoulders.
No,
Right. Well, that's important. It's important to just bring that up.
Yeah. But we make a determination. Let's just say, you have votes here. And if we're voting with each other, there is no emotions in that vote. If Felipe and I, if we reviewed this play, we're looking at it over the table, and Felipe is like, I don't know, Eric. The minute he says, I don't know, it stays a technical foul and we don't upgrade it. That's the way I look at it. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if I look at it and let's just say I look at it and I say, yes, in my opinion, he should be ejected. And then Felipe looks at it and he says, I'm not sure, Eric. And then right there, we don't have 3. It's not conclusive. It's not determinative. It's not a flagrant foul. He's not ejected. Now, what you feel is irrelevant. We're just doing our jobs. Next play. Yeah.
So if we all agree that it's an intentional, do we need to, you say we still need to go and look?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That was something that Al added after my original rule setting. We think it's a good thing to do. Any intentional or any potentially intentional or potentially flagrant act, we look, we go.
Yep. We're doing that.
Even
We're just doing that because all leagues do that. And also too, it will give you the experience to go over there and the confidence to go, we know what this is a lot of times. So just to get in the habit of seeing it and not being afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all.
And when you're walking over there and you meet up with your partner as you're walking over there, first thing you should ask, what's the call on the floor?
Right.
What's the call on the floor? And in this case, we have 2 people saying it's an intentional foul. We're looking at it to see if it's, I don't know. I mean, it's intentional foul. This is a clear-cut intentional foul, not a flagrant act, in my opinion.
Yep.
But
right.
Besides the point, you're looking at it just to double check to see if you actually want to downgrade it from an intentional to a common. But you could downgrade it if you wanted. That's within your discretion. But you look because it's potentially intentional or potentially flagrant. Any questions?
And in these reviewable situations, the 2 officials reporting to the monitor are always the referee and the calling official, right?
Right.
And in this case, there were 2 calling officials who made it. 2 who called it, and whatever the R wasn't one. Okay, fine. Good.
We all know you want to go to the table, Gary.
No, I actually don't, but that's fine.
Okay. All right. So one more intentional foul. Okay. They called it in this play. What's the call on the floor? They call a shooting foul, a common foul, or a shooting foul on the player that pulls a jersey from behind. If you, this is a situation where you could obviously tell that both referees wanted to talk about it, wanted to think about it. You could go. Because it's potentially intentional or flagrant. And you can go and look at it again and then determine if you want to stay with the call on the floor, which in this case was not intentional, or you could upgrade it to an intentional foul. Up to you. And you could also make, I don't know about you, Al, what do you want to say about this, but on a play like this, like let's say it's a 30-point game and you might, I don't know if that makes too much of a difference, but if it's a 30-point game, if you don't want to if you don't want to make a decision like that, and you want to leave it at that, I think you could kind of use your discretion to like say, oh, this is, he pulls his jersey a little bit, shoots, you're going to stay with that. It's not necessarily.
No, I don't want that done, Eric, because you're going to get into bad habits.
Okay, done.
If I saw that and I was coaching, I just say, you just quit officiating on us.
Fair enough.
Referee, the game's not over until you get into the locker room.
Done. Any other questions about this play? All right, end of period attempts. This is a 2 versus 3 and end of quarter attempt. Are we able to, first question is, are we able to review it? Should we review it?
Well, yeah, it sounds like we should. It's close enough. Although
End
it
of
was,
quarter, yeah.
yeah, and it's also closer, and his foot was close to the line. But that's not a. No one. If we all knew that it was not, it was a 3. We don't need to. But at end of quarter, you're saying you should go review it anyway. Is that what you're? That's what I'm reading here.
Yeah, then that's what Al wants to review.
So I'm sorry. So what would we review first?
Well, if there was a 2 or a 3, but I mean, to me, the reviewable thing is whether or not the shot's good. Which
right. So let's
the call on the floor?
Argument. Let's get that first.
Right.
Was it good? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, then we'll go. Is it a 2 or is it a 3?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're saying again, the situation when this was pretty obvious,
right?
You still want us to go review at the end of the quarter.
Yeah. And
okay.
this should be real easy. Okay.
Yeah.
It's obvious. It's good. Basket counts. Okay. What's his feet? Yeah, he's behind or he's not. Okay. 2 or touchdown. Boom. We should play like that.
Yeah. You even you click on the screen, 1, 2, 3 on the left side of the screen, 1, 2, 3. You watch it. You determine that your call on the floor was 3 and that it's good. Bang, tell the table, no change. Go back to your spots. That's simple.
Yep.
End of quarter. I initially, so this is another situation. He literally releases it with 1.5 seconds to, hold on a second. He initially releases it with 1.5 seconds. The ball's in the air. It actually hits the net with about a few tenths of a second to the left. Should you review this?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know what's the statute. I mean, what is the?
Al wants us to, so we just go over there a quick look, and it's good.
It's obvious, but we're still going to go look, right? Yeah. So, we're gonna confirm it's. We're gonna look. Easy one. Basket counts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that will be, and the reason we're doing it because when you get those ones that are, I don't know, you're going to say, hey, I've been here before. I've worked with this before.
Yep. Even though it's very, very, very obvious.
Very obvious, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to take you long.
And that's why I put it in there, because it's almost a little silly, but they do this at an NCAA level, NBA level. We're going to do it. This is fourth quarter, 1 second remaining. Tie game. What is the call on the floor? Call on the floor is that it's good. Mm-hmm. Can we review it? Should we review it? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We do review it, and we signal that there's no change, and it's call on the floor stands. Pretty simple. But you want to, in these situations, you want to look for 2 things. In our game, we might not have this ability because of the way the camera is. But we cannot in our game, we cannot rely in a situation like this. we cannot rely on the video feed camera on the screen. Depending on what video camera screen it is, it's not going to, we could rely on a huddle one, but that's not what's going to be at DeMatha. I'm pretty sure. And we can't rely on what's on the screen. We would have to rely on the lights or an actual on-court determination of the camera, not the camera, the clock.
There's no sound. Is that what you're saying? We won't get sound.
There will be sound, actually. I think there will be sound on the iPad. Whether or not you can hear it in a loud gym at DeMatha, I don't know. But there should be sound on the iPad, I think.
Because that would be, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Matters.
Yeah, there should be lights on. I think there's lights at DeMatha on there behind there. Are there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
These are things to double check and find out when you're pregame.
Yeah, I don't think there is a red box there. Does anyone else think there is?
I don't remember, honestly. I could find out.
You'll see when you go over there and so on.
But anyway, what's the call on the floor? And do you check it? Yes. Another one.
Al, what do we do when we go there and it's obvious that the clock did not start on time?
Exactly.
How are we going to handle that?
Well, for this tournament, we're not, they don't have stopwatches and all that. I mean, you're just going to have to do your best estimate.
Yes.
So if our estimate is that the clock didn't start on time, we make the decision on whether the shot's still in the time frame or not.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we can overrule it if
right.
Again, take all three to agree.
I wouldn't say all three. I would say 2 out of 3 for that.
Yeah.
Just all 3 for flagrant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the way it is in a lot of places too. They don't have like necessarily like in some NCAA places they have like a built-in timer thing, and some places they don't. Some places they don't. Okay, so this one, it is I want to make clear that it's a blowout situation, end of game shot. It doesn't have an impact on who's winning, but is when the release occurs relevant. And I also want to feature that Board 12's very own Gediminas is right there.
Nope.
Yep. We're not going to have this camera angle, but you can tell from this that it is
not good.
Mm-hmm. And I included this one mostly because I thought that this was the exact one that we should be looking at. Just from we wouldn't check it in a 30-point game, but if there's a situation where this is the type of like 2, 3, 2, 1 close shot that obviously we might not be sure about. So it's one that we check and determine, especially in a close game, because it's just really close. Mm-hmm. Reminiscent of
this is really a good example, really good example for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's right on the hand. And you want to make sure you have a call on the floor, because even it's so close that with the video feed that we have, we still might not know. And then the last one. This is kind of a trick. This is kind of a trick question, but play through. It's an end of shot clock situation. Look at the shot clock behind the board. It's Paul VI. It's me, Kevin, and Charlie.
Nope.
So the question is, can you go review that?
Can we review this?
No. It's the end of a period. No,
it's not an end of the. Okay, I didn't clarify that. It is not the end of a period.
So no, the answer is no. We can't review it.
That is correct. We are not reviewing shot clock situations at all, and that's important. That's an important distinction. The coaches should know that if they ask, we said shot clocks are not a trigger. We do not review shot clock situations, whether we're right or wrong. There's too many variables involved with what can happen after the shot, before the shot, offensive rebounds that could be wiped and all that situation. There's too many variables involved. The bottom line is We are not, what the call on the floor stands for shot clock situations.
Yeah, and everybody, you know, when we start doing this, and believe me, there'll be a lot of fans or other referees watching this, and it will get around to, hey, they're using this. And then we can add one more each year, you know, like, okay, we will do that next year. We'll add another one and add another one and add another one and so on. Or maybe delete one and delete one or delete, you know, whatever. But, you know, the thing is, don't have anxiety about this. Know your penalties. Be confident going over there and just show poise. And hey, we're getting in and get out, and don't be afraid to go over there. It's just like when we first all learned computers. Oh, what should I do? Well, you have to turn it on first, you know, okay. And then you'll get better and better and better with it. But I think it's great that we're doing this, and I'm excited for the referees that are refereeing it. I think it's just going to be just great, just a great experience.
Okay, we have 2 to 3 examples, and I want to point out a couple things. The positioning of the referees in these games; these are NBA games, but the positioning of the referees and why they might not have had a quality look at it, or even if they did have a quality look at it, it's so damn close that you might look. And again, with 2 to 3s, we have to be very willing to say, when we look at our game feeds, that it is inconclusive, because it will be most of the time. Referees have no look. They're behind it, no way they can tell. Looking through bodies. So these are the types of plays that they review at the end of the period or during a timeout. Remember, we're not reviewing these plays the only time we would review these plays, and I think this is something I should add to the rules, but the only time we would review this play in the situation where we are uncertain would be in the last 2 minutes of the game. And I don't think I've actually talked with Al about this yet, but but that's we would review this, as we said in the rules, we would review these 2 to 3s at the next timeout or the next quarter or period break. Unless maybe we should add to the rules, and I should have done this beforehand, but maybe we should add that.
That's okay.
What?
That's okay. You can add it now.
We'll add last 2 minutes for obvious in uncertain 2 to 3s.
Yeah.
You could review it right away. So if that happens, if a shot like this happens, you're out of position, don't have a look, nobody really knows for sure, and you be comfortable not knowing. You blow the whistle and you look at it right away. If it's under 2 minutes. Other than that, this would be a reviewable situation at the next timeout. All right. Yep. First of all, you ask, what's the call on the floor? 2 or 3. Second, you ask, you remember the timestamp, and then you know you're going to check it at the next break. Any questions? Cool. And the last one, another 2 to 3, 3 to 2. Referee's behind it. No way you can see it. No way Slot can see it. It's also just really damn close. We're obviously not going to have that look right there. We're not going to have this look. But if there's a situation where it's a top of the key 3-pointer or something like that, where we might be able to conclusively determine whether a shot is a 3 or a 2, we could look at it at the next break, timeout, or if it's under 2 minutes, right away. And that's all the plays out.
Yep. And the other thing too, after you do this tournament, you know, because now you're going to, you want to review these plays again, 1. And number 2 is, after you do this tournament, experience this tournament, when you don't have the monitor, and for the rest of the season, you're going to see how much sharper you're going to be with these type of plays. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see how sharper you will be and more detail oriented. But the main thing, again, don't let anxiety set in. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. We're the only group that's doing this in the United States with all of these things. So, just learn from it, and you got scenarios there to you got something in your arsenal now to help you get plays right. So it's a positive. I'll give you an example. We had a game and I could see something was going on, and my partner called a technical foul, and I knew something happened because I could just see. And if I had a monitor, so what I did is I just he said, wait a second, I got a double T. I just picked somebody. But if I had the monitor there, I could say, wait a second, this is what happened. You remember Clay, the game we had? And everyone said, oh, okay. Okay, but if we had the monitor, it would have really sold it. So just stuff like
hopefully,
that.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here today. And
thanks for coming on, everybody. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's just going to it's just going to really get us on the map. What's that?
It's going to make us a better product.
Yeah, it's going to make us a better product, and and the National Federation could see it and say, hey, we're gonna do it, or whatever, or whoever, or private school leagues, because in the state tournament last year they got on the referees. There was a close play. I mean, in real time, everyone in the building in the state tournament said good basket, but it wasn't. And and if we had that one laptop, they would have gotten it right. And they started getting on the referees, and it's not fair. So, this is just going to help us. So just look at it. Hey, don't be afraid of it. It's just another tool. Doug, you got anything?
Nope. Just want to thank you to Eric and Al for putting this together and putting the effort, and for everybody for showing up. And as Al says, enjoy the opportunity to do this. And once it's over, come end of the season, we'll have a little discussion on whether we want to reintroduce this. I mean, Al and I talked to WCAC a couple years ago about, having video and going to the monitor. Technology is there now. We may be able to get this into our league at that level too.
Yeah. And Eric, thank you for the plays. You're really good. And again,
thank you guys.
Thank you for everybody getting on today, and just great discussion, and just a really excellent job. And we're going to do well. We'll have a lot of fun with this. Just go over your penalties. Because they go hand in hand.
Stay away from the flu and stay away from COVID, and no more turnbacks.
Yeah. No.
If you guys look at these documents, they are live documents. They're Google Docs. So technologically wise, you have them open on your phones in the locker room pregame to talk about it. And if you have any suggestions, I'm going to make that little 2-minute suggestion change now. If you have any suggestions for things, don't hesitate to reach out. But if you want to look at the plays later, even before the games, in your pre-games, by all means, that's what this is for. And that's maybe we can even put this on the Board 12 website for just for use.
On your reviewables, I would bold must, may, and may on your.
Okay, will do. I was actually thinking about it right now.
Great.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah. Okay. It'll stand out. All right, guys. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.